So, we went and bought a forested piece of land to build our farm from scratch. And it has been a bumpy road to get everything by scratch. Hi, what are you doing? Do you want to be a star of our video? What do you think? You're gonna peck me, aren't you? Probably. Anyway, back to topic. I am getting off point, which I am very bad for doing because I am not a public speaker. So, one thing I'd like to talk about is how you turn a woodlot, basically, into your dream farm. And it's hard. So, to start off, we do as much as possible by ourselves. So, it's been a learning curve. And, even 6 years ago, if you had told me we would be doing this or have the skills to partially do what we're doing, I would think you might be a little crazy, but I definitely wouldn't be thinking that you're looking into a glass crystal ball and seeing the future. That is for sure. So one thing that we did start small when we came here. We had a few goats, and we slowly expanded as we had the housing and the land kind of fenced off. Every year we work at expanding our fields for the animals. We better our housing situation, but mostly we make sure that they have really good areas to roam. Things that are different so that they can get some mental stimulation from their environment as well. And so last year, one of our big expansions was actually to connect one of our back pastures to the front of the house. So now when we have a questionable creature, in this case it was the emus, that need to be dropped off, sometimes animals aren't always easy to handle. In a perfect world, they'd all be halter trained and walk nicely beside you to where you want them to go. That is not the case. We've seen it repeatedly here. So actually what we've done is we've made a corridor which connects the backyard to a field so that we can actually have animals dropped off if needed. Basically at the house, they enter into the fenced backyard, and we can slowly give a little pressure with our presence behind to move them into a connecting corridor and then into a backfield, and then continue that pressure to get them to whatever field that they're going to be housed in, which makes it safe for everybody. There's no risk of them getting loose or, the lead slipping from your hand, etc. So every year we do try to do things like that. It moves a little slow when you have a woodlot, especially with last year. It was raining all the time, so water was a factor, and if it wasn't raining, the mud was just so unbearable you couldn't really do anything other than try to correct the damage that was done with excessive rainfall. So this year, we're really trying to knock these projects out of the park. We've already started one of our big expansions. We might actually even get to two. But it also means that we're working on things that we really want to do. So I spent what I consider an arm and a leg on a very small amount of custom pasture blend for our fields. 1 pound or 20 pounds or something, I think it's 20 pounds does an acre, or 10 pounds does an acre, something like that. So we might get 2 acres, push it to 3 potentially. But we have some work to do in some of the fields that I desperately want to work on first. So last year we did get some excavation done down front. It looks great. We did seed it last year. This year I'm going to seed it over with this new seed because it's really good. It's a nice mixture. It's a custom blend. Animals are going to do fantastic on it, all of them, and there's going to be no issues there. With that, it's hopefully going to do well with our land as well. So moving forward, there are areas that I want to seed, I want to improve, and how do I do it? So last year, one of our parts is we actually did get up top excavated a little bit. After 8 hours of work combined, the excavator had to go. He knows our land and how wet it is, so he was the perfect fit for doing the job. However, what we were ended up with, through no fault of his, I will say that, is something that just doesn't work for me. Spending thousands of dollars to get that, just mm-mm. So we need to find another way, and I will actually show you now what what we ended up with that I'm really not happy with, and why I'm not going with the flat out excavation to make our fields, which would be certainly much faster, easier, because I wouldn't be doing it. I'd be paying someone that would have the skill and whatnot to do it. So gross. So this is actually one of our fields here, and I'm just gonna walk up a little bit closer so you can see kind of what was done out of necessity too. So we did trench because we have so much water. So that's been trenched all around. And now we're gonna go to what I call my plateau. It's kind of ridiculous, but oh well. Okay, so here's my plateau. And then you will see that mountain of brush. So it's just unsightly. You know, I don't like it. Eventually, you know, it's gonna rot and whatnot, but right now it's there, it's ugly, I hate it. You know, I paid good money to have that done. So overall, it's kind of like, you know, well, if I don't like that in excavation, what do I do? How do I turn a woodlot into a pasture without excavation? And I've been racking my mind. Basically everything that I find, it's just not something that can work here. Keeping in mind that we do not also have a tractor, so it really limits us. So what we figured out is we are going to, and this is the field I'm going to work on next actually. So we do have some really nice spots. It's quite dry, which is great, so we don't need to do any trenching around here and make a castle. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to chainsaw all of the trees that we aren't keeping in mind that we do silvopasture, so we do incorporate trees as a big part of our fields for the animals. And if you want to know more about silvopasture, you can definitely comment below and we can do another video explaining what that is and how to go about it, blah, blah, blah. Benefits, cons, you know, all that jazz. But back to this. What we're going to do is chainsaw everything as close to the ground as possible. Now, ideally, if we had a tractor and a landscape rake, what we would end up doing afterwards is kind of take the tractor and landscape rake all those sticks and rocks and, you know, just basically disturb the dirt enough for seed to touch the soil. We don't have a tractor. So what we're going to end up doing is cutting everything as short as possible to the ground. In some cases, we have been looking at a little blade that does attach to a chainsaw and does a little bit of grinding. It'd be time consuming, so I'm not 100% sure I'm sold on that right yet. But if you have comments on that or suggestions, definitely drop them below. So after we chainsaw what we're cutting out and leaving what we are, basically what we're gonna do is take our little tiny front tine tiller and break up the ground enough so that the soil is turned over and the seed can touch the soil to grow. And that is very important in a lot of places because we have a lot of moss. It's quite wet, you know, and we just really want to give it a good solid start because I paid a fortune for this custom seed blend. So before we go diving in and buying enough for all of the acres that we have, in this process we're going to start, but I really want it to be successful because I don't want to have to waste that money, you know, because if you're homesteading, money is definitely a factor in all things. So just going to do another view. We did start briefly last year working on this field here, and we had to stop because of the terrible weather, but some parts of this is going to stay because the animals do really like it. So we're mostly going to be taking out some of the odd trees. We're going to make sure that we have an open area. We're going to have a trade area. We're going to have tunnels through the trees. And then we're going to seed it. And so all this is happening as soon as our new expansion that we're working on now is done. So hopefully I can do a updated video with that, and you can see something successful that costs minimal money. However, the alternative for spending money when you're homesteading is time, manual labor. So you really have to weigh the pros and cons, because your time is worth money. So it's really kind of balancing those two things and see what works for you, your wallet, and your back. So hopefully you will get to see good things on that. But I have seen a few people who have done it. They've actually had their grass seed take, and after 2 months it'd be long enough to graze on. So I'm really hoping for that. This is the emus area that we're gonna have. So we're moving the emus out of here for that period of time, seed it, let it grow, and then be able to turn them back in, because they do graze as well. The sheep and goats will come in their field as well to graze. So it's going to be a good test of that process of changing a woodlot into a pasture field for animals without excavation or other big equipment, and just by pure gumption and manual labor. So my back is not going to thank me, but my pocketbook will.